I'm pregnant with Max's baby. Not content with just crashing the wedding, the former best friend made such a declaration. In response to her words, Max didn't deny it but instead beamed with a wide smile. I'm marrying Alice. And with those words, all the relatives except for me and my mother were shaken. As everyone looked in disbelief, only the two of them had happy expressions on their faces. At such a scene, all I could do was look on with a look of disbelief. That's okay with you, right, Hannah? I'm sorry, Hannah. Please let me have Max. As if they think they're the protagonists of their own story, they look at me with sparkling eyes. In response, Sure. With a smile, I handed over the bride's place to Alice. And then, leaving the venue, only my mother followed me. Hey, that girl. Yes, no doubt about it. I nodded to my mother's words. Glancing back one last time, I saw the two of them smiling happily at each other. At that scene, I thought to myself with a big laugh, he's marrying a married woman. A little while later. Oh, it's from Max. I wonder if he's heard the truth. Max's urgent call came through. I picked up the phone, laughing with my mother. I'm Hannah Fox, a 26-year-old office worker. I was raised in what you'd call a single-parent family. My father passed away due to illness when I was still young. And I don't have much memory of him. Since then, my mother raised me with help from my grandparents and friends. I'm sorry, Hannah. I'm going to be late again today, so please go to bed without me. Okay, I understand. Just make sure you don't push yourself too hard. My mother worked hard every day, and sometimes I felt lonely. My main sources of support were my best friend and relatives. Especially my best friend, Alice, and her family took great care of us. Hannah. My mom said you should come over today. Really? My mom said she'd be late today, so that works out perfectly. My mom and Alice's mom were best friends, and they often invited me over to their house. As a result, Alice and I grew up like sisters, sharing everything with each other. I trust her from the bottom of my heart. I bought a new game the other day. You should come over and play sometime. Thank you, Henry. I'll come over on my next day off. Another person who was a great help was my relative, Henry. His parents lived nearby and always looked out for my mom and me. Henry, an only child, treated me like his sister. Watch me, Hannah. I'll run my hardest for your dad too. At the sports festival, he made a point to participate in the parents' relay and attracted everyone's attention with his sprint. Thanks to these two, I grew up without any major problems. Thanks to my mom's hard work, we never struggled financially, and I can't thank her enough. Now, I work hard every day, hoping to give back to my mom and those who have supported us. I hope we can all go on a trip together someday. With those thoughts, I went about my days. Then, one day after work. Oh, I've got a message from Max. Is that from your boyfriend? Getting a message after work must mean you're loved. Well, yeah. Checking my smartphone, I saw a message from my boyfriend, Max Johnson. Max and I have been together since college. Hey, Hannah. You're the same Hannah from middle school, right? Max, is that you? Originally, Max and I went to the same school until middle school. However, due to my mom's job, we moved before I started high school. And Max and I grew apart. We reunited in college. Our conversation picked up right where it left off. And we started dating after he confessed his feelings for me. I should head home. All right, take care. Even though we found jobs in different places, we sometimes meet up for dinner after work. Today was one of those days, with a message from him saying, I finished early, so I'll pick you up from your office. waiting outside the office for him. Hannah? Is that you? I turned around at the sound of the voice and saw Alice. Alice? It's been so long. Really long. We've both been so busy, we haven't had the chance to meet. Indeed, we had both been busy, and it had been a while since we last saw each other. I was delighted to run into Alice so unexpectedly. We were happily chatting when... Sorry to keep you waiting, Hannah. Max arrived. He called out to me and then turned his gaze toward Alice. Huh? Then, both of them looked surprised. Come to think of it, I had parted ways with them in middle school, but they went to the same high school. So, their surprise at this chance reunion was understandable. So Max came to pick you up. Does that mean you two are? Yes, we're dating. After I revealed that we were dating, Alice looked down for a moment. I was puzzled, but she quickly lifted her face and smiled at us. Really? Congratulations. You two make a great couple. Her smile, unchanged from the past, made me feel relieved. And I smiled back and said, thank you. Let's go out for drinks sometime when you're free, all of us. We nodded at her words and promised to meet again before parting ways. As we walked, discussing where to eat. Alice hasn't changed a bit, has she? Thinking back to Alice's appearance, I had to agree. She was as beautiful as ever, always popular, and even now, I noticed men glancing at her. But still, I'd rather you didn't talk about her like that in front of me. Sorry. That was thoughtless of me. After I expressed my feelings honestly, Max apologized with a laugh. And we returned to our pleasant conversation. At that moment, I was too naive to grasp the significance of Alice's momentary sadness. Time passed. Sigh. What's wrong? Did you have a fight with your boyfriend? It's not like that, but... I started to feel that something was off with Max. We used to go out every weekend, but recently he's been canceling our dates last minute. Saying, sorry, work's been crazy. Can't make it today. Even our after-work dinners, which used to be a daily thing, have now become once a week. His inexplicable behavior made me wonder if he was cheating. I can't imagine Max would do such a thing, but I'm worried. As I sighed deeply, a message from Alice arrived. Want to catch up over tea, just the two of us? Seeing her message felt like a godsend, and I decided to meet up. This is perfect. I'll talk to Alice about it. It was bothering me to keep it all inside, and since Alice had invited me out, I decided to confide in her. Well, it's understandable to feel anxious. But Max is young, maybe prioritizing his work isn't so bad? I guess, but Alice seemed to think there was no need to worry. Seeing her reaction made me wonder if I was overthinking things. Why not wait and see a little longer? I nodded at her advice. I've always followed Alice's guidance. So, I decided to follow her advice this time as well. After catching up on each other's lives, we promised to meet again, this time with our families. It's Max. On my way home, Max messaged me, asking, can we meet now? I immediately replied, yes, and went to meet him. Unexpectedly, he had made reservations at a restaurant where we had dinner together. Hannah, will you marry me? I'm so happy. Yes, I will. During the dinner, Max proposed to me. It turns out the reason we hadn't seen much of each other recently was that he was preparing for this surprise. Feeling ashamed for having suspected infidelity, I joyfully gazed at the engagement ring handed to me. I'm glad I talked to Alice about it. At that moment, Max let slip such a remark unexpectedly. Surprised to hear Alice's name, I asked him what he meant. Actually, I've been getting some advice from Alice. It appeared that Max had been consulting Alice in secret. Perhaps that's why Alice had told me to wait and see. Therefore, after returning home, I called her to express my gratitude. And then, he proposed to me. Congratulations. It turned out just like I said, right? Really, it's all thanks to you, Alice. As I affirmed her words, Alice suddenly fell silent. Just as I was about to ask what was wrong. I hope you can be happy. Eh? Alice said that and hung up before I could ask for clarification. Thus, I never got the chance to understand the true meaning behind her words. It almost feels like she's saying I can't be happy. Murmuring so, I shook my head. It must be my imagination. I decided not to dwell on it further. Anyway, things are going to get busy from here on out. Following that, I spent my days busily preparing for the wedding and greeting both families, leaving no chance to meet Alice again, and never learning the true intent behind her words. One day, my mother called me to come over to our family home. Welcome back. Henry and Toby are here too. Eh? Really? It's been a while since I've seen both of them. In the living room were Henry-san and his son, Toby. I wondered if Toby remembered me as it had been a while since our last meeting. Hannah. He ran up and hugged me with a smile. There was a time when, due to various circumstances, I took care of him for a while. Hence, he was very fond of me. Toby, Hannah, and I need to talk about something important. So please will you excuse us for a bit and go play in the next room? Eh? Prompted by Henry, Toby reluctantly left the room, guided to another room by my mother. What's the important talk? As I asked, Henry's expression turned serious. It's hard to say, but, actually. He then revealed a certain truth. I was shocked at first, unable to believe what I was hearing. But gradually, anger began to simmer within me. So, I have a proposal. I nodded to his suggestion. What flashed through my mind were Max, who had proposed to me, and Alice, who had been happy about our marriage. I'll never forgive them. I found myself muttering those words. Days passed and on the wedding day. You look so beautiful, Hannah. Thank you, Mom. My mother, as well as Max's parents, my in-laws, had been looking forward to this day. Especially my mother-in-law, who seemed to have known me from long ago. Thank you for being with my son, she said, crying with joy. You look beautiful, Hannah. Thank you. Receiving compliments from Max, I smiled. The ceremony was supposed to proceed solemnly until it was interrupted. Hold on a second. Into the silent venue, Alice, dressed as a bride, made a dramatic entrance. Her belly was slightly enlarged, clearly indicating her pregnancy. Alice? What's going on? Max, surprised by her sudden appearance, while I looked at her calmly. What's the matter, Alice? I'm sorry, Hannah, but I'm the one marrying Max. With those words, she gently stroked her belly. I'm carrying Max's baby. Not satisfied with just crashing the wedding, my former best friend made such a declaration. Instead of denying it, Max responded with a broad smile. I can't believe it. Even that statement was unbelievable enough. But then he dropped an even more astonishing bombshell. I'm marrying Alice. With those words, everyone except my mother and I was shaken. As everyone stared in disbelief, only the two of them looked blissfully happy. All I could do was look at them with disdain. That's okay with you, right, Hannah? I'm sorry, Hannah. Please let me have Max. As if they believed themselves to be the protagonists of their story. They looked at me with sparkling eyes. In response, I, sure. I handed over the bride's roll to Alice with a smile. Then, leaving the venue, only my mother followed me. Hey, about that girl.
Yeah,
No doubt about it. I nodded to my mother's words. Glancing back for the last time, I saw the two of them smiling happily at each other. At that sight, I thought to myself with a big laugh, that girl, she's a married woman. They were about to descend into their own hell. Both of you, well done. As we left the venue, Henry approached us. I told him everything had gone as expected. Then, as planned, I'll be making my entrance. Please take care of Toby. Saying that, Henry left Toby with us and entered the venue. Then, Toby, shall we go to the shop?
yeah,
Watching Henry leave with an aura of anger, we proceeded to a nearby shop as planned. The shop had a kids' area where Toby happily played. And my mother and I discussed what would happen next. A little while later. Oh, it's from Max. I wonder if he's heard the truth. Max's frantic call came through. Laughing with my mother, I answered the phone. What's up? What the hell is going on? Don't start yelling all of a sudden. First, explain what you mean. Max, stumbling over his words, explained. Apparently, they tried to continue the wedding with Alice as the bride. However, Henry, who had appeared on the scene, took the microphone from the MC and boldly asked Alice, "We're not even divorced yet, and you're planning to marry your affair partner?" As Max expressed confusion and Alice showed surprise at Henry's presence, I couldn't help but calmly think it was all expected. Did you know Alice was married? Yes, of course. Alice is my former best friend, and Henry is my relative. I was the one who introduced them to each other. It's only natural I would know, right? Indeed, Alice and Henry were married, and Toby was their son. I was the one who encouraged their relationship to begin. It all started back when I was in college. Hannah, you're the only one I can ask for this. You don't need to beg, I'd be happy to introduce you to him. Alice had reached out to me to introduce her to Henry. She had known him from the past and claimed he was her first love. A feeling she hadn't forgotten and wanted my help to reconnect with him. After I reached out to Henry and introduced them, Alice soon shared exciting news. Hannah, guess what? I'm pregnant with Henry's child. Not long after they started dating, Alice became pregnant. As a result, Alice and Henry decided to get married while still students. I was overjoyed for them, celebrating the union of two people I cared about. We're getting married. Are you doing a ceremony? Sort of. It's a small one with just family since it's a student marriage and a shotgun wedding. Oh, but Hannah, you're our Cupid, so you're invited. Though I was invited, Max, who had just started dating me, was not. Alice had asked me to keep her pregnancy a secret. Especially since she didn't want many people to know about her student pregnancy. So, I never mentioned it to Max, which is why he was unaware. But even when invited to their house, there was no indication they were married. Well, you wouldn't normally go house hunting, would you? Plus, you two seem to head straight for the bedroom. What? My comment clearly rattled Max. How did you know about that? Henry told me. What Henry had actually informed me about was Alice and Max's affair. He had discovered their relationship just as he learned about my engagement to Max and immediately came to inform me, asking my mother to call me home. But that's not. I mean, I guess I'll see you in court. After firmly stating my intentions, I ended the call and sighed deeply. You did well. Thanks. I'm really exhausted. As I responded to my mother, Toby came running over from the kids' area. Is Hannah tired? Are you okay? I'll pat you to make you feel better. He climbed onto my lap, stretching his little hands to pat my head. His gesture, full of effort to comfort me, brought smiles to both my mother and me. "I'm sorry, Hannah." As Toby returned to play, my mother spoke softly. I looked at her. "It's because I was always working, making you feel lonely. Maybe that made you endure too much, leading to this situation." "That's not true. You raised me well. While it's true that being away from my mother made me endure a lot, that had nothing to do with this situation. It was my lack of judgment. Yes, we need to improve our discernment." We shared a moment of rueful laughter at the situation. "Thank you for looking after Toby." Soon after, Henry joined us, and we returned home. As Toby napped from playing too much, we sat down for a relaxing tea, reflecting on the day's events. As the doorbell rang, my mother went to answer it. A few moments later, "Hannah. Henry. Please listen to us." Max and Alice barged in, their demeanor frantic. We coldly responded to their panicked entrance with a reminder to keep quiet because Toby was sleeping. We then left Toby in my mother's care and moved to another room for a more private conversation. The truth is, I only love Hannah. And I love only Henry. That was, not serious. Exactly, it was just a joke gone too far. Their appeals, so desperately made, were met with our icy stares, highlighting the ugliness of their actions. "You two have been together since high school, weren't you?" As I revealed this, their bodies tensed up. After hearing the truth from Henry, I had contacted another friend who also attended the same high school and was present at the wedding. The stories they shared painted a clear picture of Max and Alice's past behavior. "I heard you were quite affectionate with each other in front of everyone at school. Do you have any sense of shame?" Faced with my words, the two of them could only look down. They had been a couple in high school but had a big fight right before graduation over their future education paths. Alice had wanted Max to choose a university with a lower standard to be with her, but Max refused, prioritizing his own future over their relationship. They ended up parting ways angrily. After that, Max met me, and Alice met Henry. That story reminded me of something. Alice and I grew up like sisters, sharing everything. That included the time in middle school when I had a boyfriend. After telling Alice about being asked out, that boy ended up breaking up with me a few days later to become her boyfriend. And you always got your way, didn't you? Though we had our disagreements due to being so close, it was always my concessions that allowed her whims to prevail. I never minded much, not thinking much of it. However, it seems Alice had been seen as selfish by others around us. And now, I hear you've been calling me a poor kid from a single-parent family behind my back. Is that true? Alice couldn't meet my gaze, at a loss for words. It's not just Alice. Max, you've been belittling me too, haven't you? Max had always appeared kind, but there were inconsistencies. in his behavior. His preferences always took precedence. And I was left to handle all arrangements and blame when things went wrong. Yet, whenever there's a problem, it's always my fault. I had managed to deal with it without feeling distressed. So I never made it an issue. Recounting this calmly left them visibly shaken. I'm really sorry. I'll change, please forgive me. Saying so, Max prostrated himself before me. Alice followed suit, also begging for forgiveness. Watching them, I sighed. I've really been taken for granted, haven't I? Now, it was clear to me. Neither of them was truly remorseful in their hearts. They were appealing to us only to avoid paying damages for their actions. I will annul our engagement, Max. So, please feel free to marry without any worries. Upon hearing my words, the two of them turned pale and trembled. Henry then stepped forward. Toby isn't my child, is he? Alice's body shook at Henry's direct question. Despite her glamorous appearance, Alice had a reputation for being pure and innocent, which she exploited to draw men to her, changing partners frequently. And it turned out Toby was another man's child, not biologically related to Henry. After finding out about your affair, I got a DNA test done, which confirmed that Toby and I are not related. When I confronted you, you just ran away, making it difficult to have a proper conversation. Alice had avoided Henry ever since, refusing to discuss the matter, leading to the debacle at the wedding. And as for your current pregnancy, I'm not even sure if it's real. The pregnancy is real. Well, I suppose so. The cameras caught you saying, I'm pregnant. What should I do? At the mention of cameras, the color drained from their faces. Henry's house was equipped with surveillance cameras primarily for monitoring. When Toby was younger, though they weren't checked daily anymore. A recent review revealed Alice discussing her pregnancy and the plan to disrupt the wedding. With this information, we were able to devise a strategy in advance. Shaking, Alice and Max faced Henry as he presented her with divorce papers. I'm divorcing you. I'll take custody of Toby, and of course, I'll be filing for damages. And I'll be seeking damages for the broken engagement. Despite their pleas for reconsideration, we firmly refused. Please, go ahead and marry. You'll never find happiness anyway. But enough. My mother burst into the room, her presence commanding. I won't allow anyone to hurt my precious daughter. Get out of my house now. Intimidated by my mother's force, Alice and Max hurriedly left. Watching them flee, we burst into laughter. What a pathetic sight. Indeed. After a hearty laugh, I turned to Henry. What will you do now, Henry? I guess I'll have to move. I don't want to stay in that place anymore. I'm thinking of living in a monthly rental for a while. Henry smiled wryly, seemingly overwhelmed by the sudden need to find a new place to live. His parents had passed away a few years back, and the family home had been sold. Well, you could just come here. Surprised, we turned to my mother. Toby is fond of both Hannah and me. Why don't you live here with us? Hannah, you're starting remote work soon, right? I nodded. Indeed, my company was transitioning to remote work. And I was scheduled to start working from home. Hannah wouldn't want to stay in a house associated with that guy, would you? I nodded again, agreeing with my mother's suggestion. Living in this house with Henry seemed like the most efficient option for both of us. We exchanged glances and then bowed our heads to my mother in gratitude for her offer. Dad? What's happening? Toby, rubbing his sleepy eyes, woke up and looked curiously at us as we expressed our thanks to my mother. Toby, we're going to live in this house from today. With Hannah and Grandma? Yes, together. Toby's face lit up with a broad smile at Henry's confirmation. He affectionately referred to my mother as a grandma, showing how fond he was of her. We're looking forward to living with you, Toby.
Yeah.
Despite the hardships we had faced, Toby's smile seemed to wash them all away. Soon after, we moved out of our previous homes and into my family home. Both Max and Alice tried to hold us back, but we ignored them. Hannah. We're best friends, right? I've always been there for you. Alice reached out, crying and pleading over the phone. The old me might have felt sorry for her. But not anymore. I don't consider you my best friend anymore. And it wasn't you who looked after me, it was your mother. I hung up after making it clear. The saying, familiarity breeds contempt, really does hold true. The trust one had in her turned into indifference the moment she betrayed me. It was time for her to face the consequences of her actions, so I blocked her contact. Later, I received apologies from Alice's mother and my in-laws, who had severely reprimanded the two. I've made sure to spread the word about what happened. My mother, who runs a business, had shared the incident with her contacts. As a result, both Max and Alice were fired from their jobs. With the damages we're demanding, they must be struggling quite a bit.
Yeah.
Alice was never good at her job to begin with. Alice attempted to claim custody of Toby but was eventually disowned by her parents after incurring debt. I prefer Dad over Mom because Mom never pays attention to me. Toby's words led to Henry gaining custody. It turned out Alice had been neglecting Toby. Your family looked after you when you were a child. It's your turn to look after me. She would occasionally leave Toby with us, relying on her mother during weekdays and me and my mother on weekends. Henry had been told by Alice to focus on work while she took care of Toby, leading him to work long hours every day. Recently realizing this was no way to live, he started spending more time with Toby, which made a significant difference in their situation. What about her unborn child? I was concerned about Alice's pregnancy and whether she could properly care for another child. Both she and Max seemed incapable of putting someone else's needs before their own. Her mother plans to have relatives take care of the baby. Unlike us, Alice's mother truly was a friend of my family and someone I trusted. The child would surely find happiness. happiness in their care. Feeling relieved, I let out a sigh. Then, Henry took my hand. Hannah. If you're okay with it, would you consider dating me? What? I was taken aback by his sudden proposal, staring at him in surprise. Henry, slightly embarrassed, gave me a hopeful look. My first love was always you, Hannah. It seems Henry has always harbored feelings for me. However, upon my introduction of Alice to him, he concealed those feelings and dated her instead. But I won't hold back any longer. Please, will you go out with me? Soon after, we began dating. It seems my mother might have sensed it, as she looks at us with a warm smile. Hey, Toby. What would you do if I said I wanted to be your mom? Hannah is going to be my mom? I'd be really happy. Encouraged by Toby's words, we are now considering marriage. I will definitely make you happy, Hannah. I'm looking forward to it. I nodded with a smile to Henry's words. And now, we have become a family and gotten married. Hey, Mom Hannah. What's up, Toby? One day, Toby looked up at me with a bit of embarrassment. Seeing his cute expression, I asked while stroking his head. You know, I want a little brother or sister. I blushed at his request, and when I told Henry, he blushed too. Later, we decided to fulfill Toby's wish. After some time. So, there's a baby here, right? Yes, that's right. Here is your little brother or sister. I was pregnant with Henry's child. Toby, imitating me, gently stroked my belly, recognizing the unborn as genuinely Henry's. My child is here. And Toby is our child too. From now on, let's build a happy home for the 5 of us. Me, you, your mother, and our 2 children. I nodded in agreement to Henry's words. I vowed to do my best for the sake of me and my family.